There are moments in life when nothing feels certain, when the ground beneath you feels unstable, when the future looks unclear, and the answers you are searching for seem just out of reach. And in those moments, it is easy to feel overwhelmed, to feel anxious, to feel like everything is slipping out of your control. But uncertainty is not your enemy. It is a part of life, and learning how to remain steady within it is what separates a restless mind from a peaceful one. Because true peace does not come from having all the answers. It comes from learning how to be calm even when you don't. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot predict every turn, and you cannot force life to move at your preferred pace. But what you can control is how you respond, how you think, how you carry yourself through the unknown, and that is where your real power lies. Inner peace is not about avoiding challenges. It is about facing them with a grounded mind. It is about staying centered when everything around you feels uncertain. It is about trusting that even when you cannot see the full picture, you are still being guided forward. When you learn to find peace in uncertain situations, you gain something powerful. The ability to stay calm in chaos, the ability to think clearly under pressure, and the ability to keep moving forward without being controlled by fear. And that kind of peace does not come from the outside. It comes from within, from the way you choose to see your situation, from the way you choose to respond to what you cannot control, and from the strength you build in moments when life doesn't give you clear answers. This is where your growth begins, in the unknown, in the uncertain, in the moments that test your patience and your trust. Because if you can find peace here, you can find peace anywhere. There comes a point in your life where you realize that trying to control everything is what is costing you your peace, not the situation itself. Not the people around you, not even the circumstances you are facing, but the constant need to hold everything in place, to predict every outcome, to manage every detail as if your life depends on it. You wake up thinking about what could go wrong. You go to sleep, replaying what didn't go right. And in between, you carry the weight of things that were never meant to be carried by you in the first place. And that kind of mental pressure will drain you. It will exhaust you. It will keep your mind restless and your heart unsettled. Peace does not come from having control. It comes from releasing the need to control what was never yours to begin with. Because the truth is, there are things in life that are simply beyond your influence. No matter how much effort you put in, no matter how much you try to force a result, there are elements that belong to a larger process that you cannot manipulate. And when you finally accept that, something shifts within you. A weight begins to lift, a tension begins to ease, and for the first time in a long time, you start to breathe differently. You start to think differently. You start to live with a sense of calm that was missing when you were trying to hold everything together. You cannot force people to act the way you want them to act. You cannot force outcomes to align with your expectations. You cannot force life to move at your pace. And the more you try to do so, the more frustrated you become. The more anxious you feel, the more disconnected you are from your own sense of peace. Peace begins the moment you stop fighting reality, the moment you stop resisting what is happening and start accepting what is, because acceptance does not mean giving up. It means understanding where your control ends and choosing to focus on what you can actually influence. You can control your thoughts. You can control your actions. You can control your discipline, your attitude, your effort, and your response to situations. And when you focus on those things, you begin to reclaim your power in a way that is grounded, not forced, not desperate, but steady and intentional. There is a strength in surrendering control, a quiet confidence that comes from trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to, even if you don't fully understand the timing or the process, because life has a way of working things out in ways that are often beyond your immediate understanding. Think about the moments in your past where you tried to control everything, and it still didn't work out, where you stressed, overthought, overplanned, and still didn't get the outcome you wanted. And then think about the moments where you let go, where you trusted, where you allowed things to unfold, and how often those moments led to better results. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. That is life showing you that control is not the answer. That trust is often the better path. Because when you trust, you create space for possibilities that you would have otherwise missed your mind. will tell you that letting go is dangerous, that if you don't stay in control, things will fall apart. But that is a fear talking, not truth, because holding on to everything tightly does not guarantee stability. It only guarantees stress. Peace comes when you decide to stop wrestling with what you cannot change, when you stop wasting energy on things that are outside your control, and instead channel that energy into building yourself improving your focus, into strengthening your mindset, because life is always moving, always shifting, always changing. And if you try to control every movement, you will exhaust yourself trying to keep up with something that was never meant to be controlled in the first place. You have to learn to trust the process, to trust that even in uncertainty there is direction, even in confusion there is growth, even in moments where you feel like nothing is working, something is still being built in the background. And when you release control, you are not losing power, you are redirecting it. You are taking all that energy you are using to worry, to overthink, to force outcomes, and you are putting it into something that actually moves your life forward. That is where peace begins, in the space where you stop trying to control everything and start trusting that you are exactly where you need to be. Even if it does not look perfect, even if it does not feel easy, even if it does not make complete sense, because peace is not found in control. It is found in trust, in acceptance, in the quiet confidence that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way without needing to control every detail of how it unfolds. And when you finally reach that place, when you stop gripping so tightly and start living more freely, you will realize that the life you were trying so hard to control was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experience guided and trusted one step at a time. There are moments in life when the ground beneath you doesn't feel steady, when the future is unclear, when you're standing in a place where you can't see the next step. And in those moments, most people start to panic, start to question everything, start to feel like they are losing control. But what they don't realize is that this is exactly where strength is born, because strength is not built in comfort. It is not built in certainty. It is not built when everything is easy and predictable. Strength is built when you are forced to move forward, without all the answers, when you have to rely on your discipline, your mindset, your inner voice, even when everything around you is uncertain. You don't grow stronger when everything goes your way. You grow stronger when things don't, when you face challenges that test your patience, when you deal with situations that stretch your limits, when you are forced to keep going even when you feel like stopping. That is where real strength begins to take shape. Uncertainty forces you to look within, to find something deeper than motivation, something stronger than temporary confidence. It pushes you to develop resilience, to build endurance, to cultivate a mindset that does not break under pressure. Because when you are certain about everything, you become dependent on that certainty. You rely on predictable outcomes. But life doesn't always stay predictable. And when uncertainty comes, it exposes whether you are truly strong or just comfortable. And that is not a bad thing. That is an opportunity, because uncertainty reveals what you are made of. It shows you how you respond when things are not in your control, and it gives you the chance to build strength where it matters most. You don't have to see the full path to move forward. You just have to take the next step, and then the next one, and then the next one, trusting that even though you cannot see everything, you are still moving in the right direction. There is a discipline that comes from uncertainty, a focus that sharpens because you have no distractions of guaranteed outcomes. You learn how to stay grounded, how to stay committed, how to keep your mind steady even when everything around you is shifting. And that discipline becomes your foundation, because what on life eventually does bring clarity. When things begin to align, you will already have the strength to handle it. You will already have the mindset to sustain it. You will already have the character to protect it. Think about the moments in your life when you didn't know what was coming next, when you felt unsure, maybe even afraid, and yet you kept going. You made decisions. You took steps. You moved forward. And in doing so, you discovered a strength you didn't know you had. That is what uncertainty does. It reveals your capability. It shows you that you are more resilient than you think, that you are more capable than you give yourself credit for, that you can handle more than you imagined. You can't build strength by avoiding uncertainty. You build it by facing it, by stepping into it, by refusing to let fear stop you from moving forward. Because every uncertain moment you overcome adds another layer to your strength. And over time, you begin to change. You become more confident, not because everything is perfect, but because you have learned how to handle imperfection. You have learned how to stay steady when things are unclear, and that kind of strength cannot be taught. It has to be earned. Uncertainty teaches you patience, it teaches you trust, it teaches you how to stay focused on what you can control and release what you cannot. And those lessons are what prepare you for greater things ahead. Because life will always bring uncertainty, new challenges, new situations, new moments where you don't have all the answers. And if you don't develop strength in those moments, you will struggle when they come again. But if you embrace uncertainty, if you face it with courage, if you use it as a tool for growth instead of a reason to fear, then every uncertain moment becomes an opportunity to become stronger. You have to trust that even in uncertainty, there is purple. That even when things are unclear, you are still being guided, still being shaped, still being prepared for something greater. Strength is not built when everything is easy. It is built when everything is uncertain, and you choose to keep going anyway. When you choose to trust yourself, trust the process, and trust that what you are going through is shaping you into someone stronger. And one day, when you look back at this period of uncertainty, you will not see it as something that held you back. You will see it as the very thing that built you, that strengthened you, that prepared you for the life you now live, because uncertainty was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you, and if you face it with the right mindset, it will always do exactly that. There are moments in your life when the path ahead disappears into fog, when you cannot see the next step, when the answers you're looking for seem out of reach. And in those moments, your mind wants to rush, your heart wants to panic, and your emotions start pulling you in every direction. But staying calm when the path is not clear is not about ignoring what you feel. It is about mastering how you respond to what you feel. Because when everything around you feels uncertain, your calm becomes your greatest strength, your anchor, your foundation. You don't need to see the entire journey to take the next step. You just need to stay steady enough to take it one step at a time, trusting that clarity will come as you move forward. Not before. Most people wait for certainty before they act. They wait for perfect conditions. They wait for everything to line up just right. But life does not always give you that luxury. And if you wait too long, you will miss the opportunities that were meant for you. Calmness allows you to think clearly, to see beyond the noise, to separate fear from truth. And when your mind is calm, your decisions become sharper, more intentional, more aligned with where you are meant to go. Because when you are overwhelmed, when you are anxious, when you are rushing through uncertainty, you start making decisions out of fear, and those decisions often lead you further away from where you need to be. But when you choose to remain calm, when you ground yourself in the present moment, you regain control over your thoughts. And in doing so, you regain control over your direction. You have to understand that not seeing the full path does not mean you are lost. It simply means you are in a phase where growth is happening in the background, where lessons are being learned, where your character is being shaped. And that process requires patience. It requires trust. It requires the ability to stay still without feeling stuck, to stay calm without feeling like you are doing nothing. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to stay steady and observe. There is a strength in stillness, a quiet power in choosing not to react to every uncertainty with fear, but instead responding with clarity, with focus, with intention. You don't have to have all the answers today. You just have to trust that the answers will come when they are needed, that the clarity will arrive when the timing is right. Life does not reveal everything at once. It reveals things step by step, moment by moment, and if you stay calm, you will be able to receive that guidance without being overwhelmed by it. Think about the times when you were uncertain but you stayed calm, when you didn't rush, when you didn't panic, and how often those situations worked out better than expected. That is not coincidence. That is the power of composure. And now think about the times when you lost control, when fear took over, when you made rush decisions, and how those moments often led to more confusion, more stress, more difficulty. That contrast teaches you something important, that your state of mind determines your experience, not just the situation itself, but how you choose to respond to it. So when the path is not clear, do not let panic lead you. Let patience guide you. Let discipline keep you steady. Let faith remind you that you are not lost. You are simply in a process of unfolding. Stay grounded in what you know. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your attitude, and let the rest fall into place in its own time. Because trying to force clarity will only create frustration, but allowing clarity to come naturally will bring you peace. You are not required to rush through uncertainty. You are required to grow through it, to learn how to stay composed, to learn how to move forward without losing yourself in the process. And when you master that, when you learn how to stay calm, even when you cannot see the full picture, you become someone who is not easily shaken, someone who can handle pressure, someone who can move through life with confidence, even in uncertainty. That kind of strength does not come from having all the answers. It comes from trusting yourself enough to move forward without them. So stay calm, stay focused, stay patient, because even when the path is not clear, you are still being guided, still being shaped, still moving towards something that is greater than what you can currently see. There are times in your life when you find yourself standing in the unknown, when the next step is unclear, when the outcome is uncertain, when you don't have the answers you want or the direction you expect. And in those moments, doubt starts to whisper, fear starts to grow, and your mind starts questioning whether you are on the right path. But trusting the process even in the unknown is where your real strength is tested. Because it is easy to trust when everything is going your way, when the results are visible, when the path is clear. But it takes a different kind of strength to trust when you cannot see what is ahead. The unknown is not meant to break you. It is meant to build you. It is meant to develop your patience, to sharpen your faith, to strengthen your discipline, and to teach you how to move forward without needing complete clarity. You have to understand that not everything in life will make sense in the moment. Some things will feel confusing. Some things will feel delayed. Some things will feel like they are not working out. But that does not mean the process is failing. It means the process is still unfolding. Life works in layers. And you are not always given access to the full picture. Sometimes you are only shown what you need to see at that moment, and that is intentional. Because if you saw everything at once, you might try to rush, you might try to control. You might miss the lessons that are necessary for your growth. Trusting the process means accepting that there is a bigger picture that you are not fully aware of, but choosing to move forward anyway, choosing to stay committed, choosing to keep your focus on your effort instead of the outcome. Because your growth is not just about reaching a destination, it is about who you become while you are on the journey. And the unknown is where that transformation happens. It is in the moments when you don't have clarity that you develop strength, when you don't have certainty that you build resilience, when you don't have answers that you learn how to trust yourself and the path you are on. You cannot rush the process, no matter how much you want to. No matter how much you try to force things, life moves at its own pace, and your role is to stay aligned, to stay consistent, to keep showing up even when you don't see immediate results. Because trust is not built in comfort. It is built in uncertainty. It is built when you choose to keep going even when you don't understand what is happening. And that is not weakness, that is strength. Because anyone can move forward when the path is clear, but not everyone can stay committed when the path is unknown. You have to train your mind to stay steady, to resist the urge to panic when things are unclear, to resist the urge to quit when results are not immediate, and instead focus on what you can control: your effort, your mindset, your discipline. Every step you take in the unknown is a step of faith, and every step of faith strengthens you. Even if you cannot see the results right away, think about the moments in your life where things didn't make sense at first, where you felt unsure, maybe even lost, but later you realized that those moments were necessary, that they led you to something better, something more aligned with your purpose. That is the nature of the process. It does not always reveal its purpose immediately, but over time, everything begins to connect. Everything begins to make sense. Everything begins to align. You are being shaped in ways you cannot yet see, prepared for things you cannot yet fully understand, and if you trust the process, you allow that growth to happen without resistance. Resistance only slows you down, but trust allows you to move with the flow of life, to adapt, to learn, to evolve. The unknown is not a place of uncertainty alone. It is also a place of possibility, a place where new opportunities are forming, where new paths are being created, where new doors are waiting to be opened. But you will not reach those doors if you stop moving. If you give in to doubt, if you allow fear to convince you that the unknown means you are off track. The unknown is part of the track. It is part of the journey. And trusting the process means continuing forward even when you cannot see the finish line. You have to remind yourself that you are not stuck. You are not lost. You are in a phase of becoming. And becoming requires patience, requires trust, requires consistency. So keep moving even when it's slow, even when it's uncertain, even when you don't have all the answers, because every step forward is shaping your future. And one day, when you look back, you will see that the moments you trusted the process and the unknown were the very moments that defined your strength, your growth, and the life you now live. There are moments in life when everything around you feels like it is falling apart, when situations get heavy, when people test your patience, when circumstances don't go your way. And in those moments, most people believe that peace depends on what is happening outside of them. But that is not the truth, because if your peace depends on your situation, then your peace will always be unstable, always shifting, always vulnerable to whatever life throws at you. And that is not peace. That is dependency. Inner peace is something deeper, something stronger, something that remains steady regardless of what is happening around you, because it is not built on circumstances. It is built on your mindset, your discipline, your understanding of life, and your ability to stay grounded no matter what. You cannot control every situation. You cannot stop challenges from coming. You cannot prevent difficult moments from entering your life, but you can control how you respond to them. And that is where your power lies. Inner peace is choosing not to let external chaos dictate your internal state. It is choosing to stay calm when things are out of control. It is choosing to think clearly when everything feels overwhelming. Because the moment you allow a situation to control your emotions, you give away your power. You let external events dictate your internal state. And once that happens, you are no longer in control of yourself. But when you develop inner peace, when you train yourself to remain calm, focused, and centered, no matter what you face, you become unshakable. And that is a level of strength that cannot be easily broken. You have to understand that every situation in life is temporary. It will pass, it will change, it will evolve. But your inner state, the way you choose to carry yourself through those situations, that is what defines you. There are people who go through difficult situations and lose themselves, and there are people who go through the same situations and grow stronger. And the difference is not the situation. The difference is the inner peace, because when you have inner peace, you don't panic under pressure. You don't break under stress. You don't lose sight of who you are when things get difficult. Instead, you remain grounded. You remain focused. You think clearly, and you make decisions from a place of strength, not fear. Inner peace gives you clarity. It allows you to see beyond the chaos, to understand that what you are facing is not the end. It is just a moment, a phase, a challenge that you are capable of overcoming. And when you approach life from that perspective, your entire experience begins to change because you are no longer reacting to everything. You are responding with intention. You begin to realize that not every situation deserves your emotional energy. Not every problem deserves your stress. Not every challenge deserves your peace. Some things you have to let go of, some things you have to accept, and some things you simply have to move through without allowing them to consume you. Because your peace is more valuable than any situation, more valuable than any conflict, more valuable than anything that tries to pull you away from your center. When you protect your inner peace, you protect your clarity, your focus, your energy, and your ability to move forward with purpose. Think about the times when you were at peace, when your mind was clear, when your emotions were balanced, and how much better you were able to handle whatever came your way. Now think about the times when you were overwhelmed, when your mind was scattered, when your emotions were out of control. and how much harder everything felt. That contrast shows you the importance of inner peace, because the situation may be the same, but your ability to handle it depends entirely on your inner state. You have to build habits that protect your peace, habits that keep you grounded, habits that allow you to reset your mind when things get overwhelming, whether it is taking a moment to breathe, stepping back from chaos, focusing on what truly matters, or simply choosing not to engage in unnecessary stress. These are the choices that build your inner peace. Because peace is not something that just happens. It is something you create, something you protect, something you choose every single day. And the more you choose it, the stronger it becomes. The more natural it feels. The more resilient you become in the face of life's challenges. Inner peace does not mean your life will be perfect. It means that no matter what happens, you will remain steady. You will remain grounded. You will remain in control of yourself. And that is the real victory. Not controlling the situation, but controlling yourself within the situation. So when life gets difficult, when things don't go as planned, when situations test your patience, remember this: your peace is greater than anything you are facing. And when you stand firm in that truth, when you choose to protect your inner peace no matter what, you become stronger than any situation life can place in front of you. And when you finally understand the power of inner peace, you stop reacting to every situation like it defines your life. Because it doesn't. And you begin to move with the calm confidence that no circumstance can easily shake. You realize that challenges will always come, problems will always arise, and uncertainty will always be part of the journey. But your peace does not have to be disturbed by any of it. Instead of being pulled in every direction by stress, you stay centered. Instead of being overwhelmed by pressure, you stay grounded. Instead of losing yourself in chaos, you stay connected to your inner strength. That is where true freedom begins. When your peace is no longer dependent on your situation, but rooted within you, unshakable and steady. And from that place, you make better decisions. You think more clearly. You respond with wisdom instead of emotion. And you move through life with purpose. So protect your peace at all costs. Guard it. Nurture it. Strengthen it. Because once you master your inner world, no external situation will ever have the power to control you again.